Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Dwania and this is the Canadian Small Business Women channel. And we are talking again about Ask the Expert. If you missed any of our previous segments, you need to go back and catch those. But today, this Ask the Expert segment is all about funding and it's brought to you by Pocketed. Now, who's Pocketed? Pocketed is a grant funding platform that helps businesses access the billions of dollars available each year in government funding and tax credits using their intelligent matching system. You can get more information on Pocketed at the description in the I should say that the other way, at the link in the description. There's no description in the link. Our expert today is Jamie Proctor-Boyce. But before we meet Jamie, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on videos like these, and also submit your funding questions at the link in the description. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
So tell us a little bit about yourself because, nobody wants to hear too much about good old Dwania here.
Well, I'm sure they all do, but happy to meet everyone. So again, I'm Jamie Proctor-Boyce, and I think I've had a very meandering career, but I would say a through line for sure is entrepreneurship. So I've always worked for or been an entrepreneur myself. And I've worked in a lot of industries, media, hospitality, publishing. And most recently, I was working actually for a nonprofit that aimed to support entrepreneurial mindset in young people. And through that role, I built a lot of funding programs. So we had several different contracts from the federal government, and we were asked to build programming that would give grant funding to entrepreneurs and small businesses if and when they were hiring young people in our program. So I really got to know the funding landscape of Canada, particularly hiring, wage subsidies. And through that, I've ended up here at Pocketed. So Pocketed helps companies get more free money from the government. We have built a software product, an intelligent matching platform, which can automatically let you know of the $6 billion available every year to Canadian entrepreneurs, which your company likely is eligible for. That's totally free. And it's going to save you so much time sifting through literally thousands of different government programs. And then from there, we have awesome tools, automation tools, intelligence tools to help you create your funding applications more quickly, submit them more successfully, and also if and when you need support from a grant writer, a tax consultant, we have a whole marketplace of vendors that we can refer you out to if you don't want to do it yourself. So Pocketed is your all-in-one stop for intelligence and support in accessing government funding.
Fantastic. I'm glad you went into how Pocketed works because that was really going to be my first question. Like, how does it work for everyone? But how do you find grant funding?
Well, it's quite complicated, and that's really why Pocketed was born. So again, in Canada, there's about $6 billion available to businesses every year. In the United States, it's closer to 150 billion. But here in Canada, for example, that's over 1,000 different programs. And so they're all totally decentralized. They're in different government websites, different provincial websites, municipal websites. There's also money out there through private, through corporations or private foundations. And so it's all quite dispersed. And even for the same grant, there can be different application processes if you're applying, say, in British Columbia versus New Brunswick. So sometimes money is disseminated directly from the government. Sometimes it goes through delivery agents that are often, again, provincial organizations. So it can be pretty confusing. So here at Pocketed, what we've done is we take a three-pronged approach. We use all of the basic scraping tools to pull data about grants, but we've also built some proprietary scraping tools that make sure that using technology, we know immediately about grant updates, new opening dates, closing dates, new funds being released. And then we also have an amazing database team, humans behind the scenes that are keeping that database up to date. So we are very, very confident in the accuracy as well as the comprehensiveness of our database here in Canada.
So you're doing all of the legwork for us, really, making it just easier for us to, you're sifting through
Yeah,
And we're
absolutely.
catching all of the good bits. Got it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that is complex about funding programs is that you read the one sentence and you're like, yes, I think I could get that $5,000 or that $25,000, but then literally you have to go through so many different pages to find out the stated eligibility, and then never are you going to find the real eligibility, what the funding agency explicitly cares about. Like they're not always going to let you know that. And so what we're doing with Pocketed is every entry in the database has this very sweet little snapshot of the eligibility, as well as the timelines, the level of difficulty of the application, the
Mm,
funding structure. We can talk about that soon, but often with grants, you do need to spend money to get money. And so the way that the payments are structured, we make that really explicit. And again, it's all in one little nice, tidy entry in the platform. And we're building more and more into that entry, the things that you wouldn't find on the government's website, the tricks and tips that we've found as grant writers and as grant researchers, that we want all our users to be able to access, grant intelligence about the different programs.
I like that. I like the snapshot. I think because, as entrepreneurs, we're all over the place as it stands, and we're everything to our businesses. And sometimes we want to know, how much time do we really have to invest in this application? Do
Yeah,
I have the
absolutely.
time? Am I eligible? Just in a snapshot, right? So I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Now, the question I get asked a lot is grant money really free?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it absolutely can be. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to be organized, and you don't need to really be reading the fine print. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie, it can be tricky. Pocketed, for example, has leveraged over 750 million, no, million, that would be amazing, 750,000, $750,000 in grant funding for our own business. So there was a time early on when our company was 95% grant funded. Our staff, 95% of us were receiving wage subsidies. Now, that being said, that's Pocketed wasn't always able to use every single grant for various reasons. Sometimes it was cash flow. Again, you often have to pay out project costs or wage subsidies and then be reimbursed. Sometimes it was that you had to have an eligible hire, for example, for a hiring program, and we couldn't find someone before the funding was allocated. Again, with training programs, you have to find, there's money out there, whether it's to upskill a new employee, even someone who's not employed by your company yet, but someone you'd like to employ, but they need some training. There's money out there in almost every province that will give you generally 80% of training costs, up to $10,000. So they'll give you 10 grand, you have to put in 2. So is it free? Depends on your definition, because often some commitment of time or money is required. But the cool thing about funding is that it's non-dilutive. So it doesn't dilute your stake in your business. It's not equity that you have to give away to an investor who then has a seat on your board or owns X percentage of your company, nor is it a loan where you would be accruing interest and have to be repaying it long term. So I think that there's free money out there, and Pocketed very much is committed to helping all entrepreneurs access that money more easily and more successfully.
Awesome. Awesome. So what types of businesses are eligible for grant funding?
Yeah, well, I would say all businesses. That being said, there's definitely, depending on the types of funding that you're looking at, there's definitely things to consider. So solopreneurs, just somebody doing their own thing as a consultant or a freelancer, who's not even incorporated, absolutely, there is funding out there for you. That being said, becoming incorporated is a pretty big trigger. So we find that when someone creates their free user account on Pocketed and they are unincorporated, there's going to be about 20 grants that they are likely eligible for. When they become incorporated, that's going to flip into 80, 100, 120 programs that they could access. So things like whether or not you're incorporated, whether or not you have anyone as an employee, if you're paying someone on payroll, that makes a difference. There's often revenue thresholds for different grants. There's obviously, provincial, like where you're located, where you're doing business can affect what you're eligible for, as well as the types of activities that you're doing. So there's definitely grant funding out there for most businesses, but the scope and the scale is going to change widely based on your unique business profile.
Perfect. Thank you. I know you talked a little bit about this earlier where you were breaking down that, you can access grants on a municipal level, provincial level, federal level, or sometimes they're investors. But is that typically where all grant funding comes from?
Absolutely. I mean, I will say, maybe I hope I didn't confuse people by bringing up corporate or private interest, because really the thrust of Pocketed is government money. So this is all money, pools of money that the government takes our tax dollars and wants to reinvest in economic development in various areas. So that being said, the platform Pocketed encompasses those government funds, as well as things like business competitions, or sometimes like TELUS right now has a fund for small business owners. So there's sometimes but they're competitions. They're all like contests, if you will. Sometimes you have to pitch, sometimes you have to make a video, sometimes you just have to enter your name in a queue. But all of them are non-dilutive. So the vast majority on the platform are coming from government. And then again, there are a few that are not necessarily government funding, but again, none of them are going to require giving up a stake in your business.
Okay. So our last question for this segment, now that we know where the money's coming from, we feel we're eligible, we know it's free, and we're excited. When should we apply for grants as a business?
Great question. So all the time. And that's also, again, the beauty of Pocketed. It's super difficult to keep track of grant cycles. Sometimes there's like student funding, for example, if you want to hire a post-secondary student, is on a semester cycle. Many grants follow the federal fiscal. So there's often new funds being announced April 1st. But sometimes if there's a middle organization, not a middleman, but if the government has funds and then they're being disseminated through local nonprofits or industry alliances, it can take the government time to sign those agreements with the middle party. And so we often see a lot of money becoming available, 2 to 4 months after the start of the federal fiscal, once they've allocated the money and gotten all the funding contracts organized. So grants are totally rolling. I get asked all the time, because we have both open and closed grants in the Pocketed platform. If you're seeing a grant that's closed, but it's still in the platform, that means that it's not out of date, but it will reopen. If it's still in the platform, we believe it's going to reopen. And so we really, it's important to keep an eye on dates. That's one of the biggest obstacles, I think, for entrepreneurs, is that you're not organized at the right time when the money is available. And so Pocketed can do that for you. Again, it's totally free to sign up for an account, and that will give you, again, your customized grant list within seconds. But we do have a premium level of our software. It's just $15 a month. And we can put a code in the chat that will bring that price down for viewers to $11 a month. And but I will say it's charged on an annual cycle, because we really want you to commit to using Pocketed for a year, because there might not be anything in the first month that you log in that's relevant for your business. But the grant cycles are always moving, and there will be more money in a matter of time. So when you do sign up for that premium level of the software, that allows you to create grant shortlists. It gives you alerts and notifications both in platform and in your email when a grant you're interested in is opening or closing. So you can have a helper in the background making sure that you're aware. Anytime there's a new match for your business, the platform will let you know that. So you have a little bit of a virtual assistant in the background making sure that your specific programs you're trying to keep track of, and it can feel like herding cats. Well, all those cats are living in Pocketed, and we're keeping you posted about them.
Wow, I feel like I learned a lot in this segment. Some things you think but you filled in a lot of the blanks. Thank you so much. So everyone, this is just our first segment on funding. So remember to submit your funding questions in the comments or in the link in the description. And if you have questions about finance or accounting, you can also, and legal, you can also submit those too, because we're doing some additional Ask the Expert segments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, let us know your thoughts on the segment, and a special thank you to our segment sponsor, Pocketed. Remember to click the link in the description to learn more. And thank you to our expert for sharing all these great things. Thanks, Jamie.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
See everyone in the next video.